think it's the there you go forward.
Hi, we're just getting organised. Oh, that's better. Yeah. Yep. Hello, everyone.
Hello. I don't know if anyone's there yet. I don't
know
so.
how you tell that everyone's there. This is our
you'll
first
see
live.
numbers. We'll just wait. We're just getting organised because this is our first time. I'm trying to get rid of glow. But we're talking probably to ourselves, but that's okay because we can.
Yeah, well, we often do.
Yeah, we do.
We always do. We're never live, so we're always talking to ourselves.
That's right. So we're just going to wait and see if anybody comes, really.
But meanwhile, how great is it that we're together? Oh, look, someone's here.
Hello, somebody. You'll have to let us know who you are. We've got our chat. You can say something and we're alternatively going to look and have a read. So this is new to us, so bear with us too. We're just literally setting up the space.
But I think you can kind of tell the energy that we're in when we're together just from this alone.
And
this is what we're like together. Well, I've actually got two cuppers. This is my Violet Flame cup. This is the cup that I have whenever I come to Marie's house. It's called the Violet Flame cup. And then Elmo just bought me in a tea, so I've got two.
Oh, that's right. She's thirsty.
Yeah.
So it's a big audience of one, but I'm just if whoever you it's Kay. Hi Kay. So if I say, can you let us know who you are? Thanks for joining in. This is fun. We can talk to you. Yay. Now, question Kay, in case we get two. Can you let us know, do we need light on in here or is this lighting okay?
And does this get recorded as well? Does this
I think so.
automatically go to our YouTube as well?
I don't know. No. We're about to find out. So there's two. Someone else. Hello, somebody else.
You know what we might do is also in the comments we might say when we actually kick off.
Oh, perfect lighting.
So what we might do is say, P.S. now that you've joined us, we actually really kick off at 7 minutes or something like that, just so that you're not listening to us chitty chat and have to for 7 minutes waiting for people. Yeah,
and we will stop to let each other talk shortly too. We just have to say that it's been a bit of a busy day, so we've literally just logged in home like 20 minutes ago and we've just been running to get ourselves sorted. So we're breathing into the Zen. So I'm just going to leave you with my team for a minute because I'm going to get my crystal, which I always wear, which I don't. Excuse me.
I've got mine here. This is our current scholarcite crystal. So this is our solar plex crystal for the chakra immersion this year, and it was hilarious when I first got everybody to open it up because we usually, yes please Marie, we usually open it up. Over here please Marie, I need the proper effect. Thank you. I usually get everyone to open it up like on the day that we then go into the night of the particular chakra that we're moving into. And you know, when you're on a Zoom call with people, how you can see everybody there, and all I could see was everybody with their scholarcite crystal giving themselves facial massages. It was just beautiful to watch. Anyway, all
right, so we have two. So who's our second person? Would that be Elisa? Just type in, we know Kay's here, so type in who we're talking to because that would be lovely to know. Oh,
I love that she said that.
That's really sweet.
Do you remember that?
I just went to the toilet.
That Instagram reel where everyone jokes around when you're waiting for people to get online. You're like, oh, this is a Vivienne West. Do you remember that one? No. She goes, oh, thanks, my necklace. Thanks, it's a Vivienne West. Yeah.
This is just
I'll have
my
to send it to you.
tree of life.
It's not a Vivienne West. Yeah.
Who's Vivienne West?
She's a designer.
I think. Yeah. I don't know. I'm not up to date on these things.
Yes. Okay.
All right. So, Kay, well, we've lost one already, so we're obviously chatting too long. That's a bit funny. So, Kay, this is a private show for you.
And everyone who watches the recording, because you've got to remember that that's our usual style anyway.
Yeah, well, I hope this does get recorded, but we'll soon find out. If not, Kay, enjoy the show and ask us, fire your questions away. So anyway, we just wanted to, you can look, we just thought we'd pop on because it's been so long. Simply that. It's been, I don't know when we did the last time. It must have been end of February. And early March.
Marie was like, look, I'm out. And I had something happen to my hand. And that kind of locked me out for a bit. And then it just spiraled. It just spiraled into this, we're not doing the hub for a little while. And it was never about us completing the hub or feeling like we needed to force trying to do the hub. It was we were both at peace with, well, we're not doing the hub for a while, and that's cool. So today we're really chatting to you about that journey for both of us, what that's been like. Particularly around, we always knew that these March, April, May energies were going to be very intense. Marie and I were having massive conversations about it a year ago, about the energies being really revealing in this time. But I personally would never have foreseen the journey that I've just been through. And the clearing that I've just had as being part of that. I would hands down have said, if you'd asked me a year ago what would potentially be the theme of those big energies coming in March, April, May, I would have been like, I feel like it's the big reveal. I feel like everybody will be coming into highest consciousness, like, everyone coming up to the table on truth being out there. And that's not what it's been about. And we're going to be sort of chatting about that, because I feel like, anyone who's going to be tuning into us or aligning to even just listening to what we've got to offer today is probably been experiencing that exact same thing over the last 3 months anyway. So.
Yeah, well, hey, same. And, I've been saying for so long from last year that, March, the equinox was going to be a game changer. I just knew that it would be a game changer. And I just had no idea that it was going to be about me so much. And it was a huge game changer for me. So, Kay, I know you've been in circle.
Melanie's here too.
Hello, Mel. Nice to see you, Mel. We talked about a lot of this in touched on it in circle, obviously, last time as well. But, personally for me, from that March point of the equinox, the 20th, 21st, and right up until April, unbelievable. And I think that the takeaway, like, I couldn't even begin, as I said, in circle.
Well, you have to share what happened. It's got to be that.
It's too big. Honestly, it's too big to share. I'd have to do like part A, part B, part C, because to be truthful, I sit back now and I think, God, what I went through in the meditations, what I saw. And I mean, it started off in such a physical sense of, from fine to like bang, crash. And I didn't have that long for the preparation, so to speak, for the crash, but straight into the fever, high fever, the burn off, and everything we've ever talked about in allowing that to take place and not doing anything about it, but being in the moment and knowing that everybody had to leave me alone. Like, everybody had to just go away and let me be. This was my cave moment. And I go into caves. I've been in the caves before. And truthfully, I think the last big time, which I used to say was my COVID moment, was well before COVID.
You were in Coffs Harbour?
No, just moved up here, 2018. That was the last time. So here we are 5 years down. And almost, not long after the move, 5 years of change, number 5. I'm back down in a similar place. And the thing is, we always know, no matter what comes up for us, however exponential we feel the wheels are falling off and everything's spiraling out of control and whatever's coming up in however that be, is that we have to instantly come back to this as energy. Always. Like that 5 years ago was because I'd been out in Currumbin Valley and been inundated, did a big ceremony with crystals in the water, and anchored huge light streams, which were validated after that, and felt that impact immediately of the purge to allow me to incorporate the frequency. And here we are again. So instantly it was the knowing that nothing's wrong, but to allow this purge, that the body will take over, the soul knows what it's doing, watch your fear, but just to allow every process and to honor that process for yourself. Because others around you, who are your tests, who may be unawake, or whatever word we want to use, they will come to you with the, oh, you're sick, oh, what's wrong, oh, you need help, oh, she's, go through the mainstream medical, channels or whatever. However you do it, it's up to you. But I knew, that's not me. I don't go there. And the key words, there were so many, but as I said, the key words for me were to start with trust, faith, as always. They're just absolute now. They're in every moment of every day. Then it was allow, the purge. So here's all your heart energies. These are heart quality traits coming through again. And then the chest, it was all upper centers, all the throat up to start. Then the chest kicked in, so it was heart up. That was it. And but it was just this. It was so deep. I can't even begin to express the depth of knowing how deep and old and big this was. And not to rush anything, not to push through any old ways of trying to fight it, or I simply couldn't. My higher self just said, right, well, you need to do this. You're being upgraded. You're being shifted. You're being shafted. This is taking place that you can't do walking around or when you're busy or being a human. So you're on your back. And I literally lived in my spare bedroom on my own for a couple of weeks. And even in that time, to get up and to walk, it took my effort. It took all my effort to stand, to sit. I couldn't do anything. And it was the message of the diet's got to change. Everything has to change. The shedding, what was coming up and the release. I was amazed still what's there. We think we do things, and I don't get caught up in the trap thinking anything's ever over. But it was still amazing how old and how past life. But I went back and was shown, again, the next layer of that or the next layer of that. And again, there were the people immediately around me who were involved in that experience, which is why we're with them, and going through that process. But then at the same time, it was be receptive, be more receptive. Where are you blocking love? Where are you really holding back love? What clouds do I still have around me? Theme. Preventing the light to come through in its true force and capacity. Knowing that I am worth every part of this, just really feeling that out in every cell and electron. And then it kept going, go deeper, go deeper, go deeper. And then the meditations were bigger, the messages were bigger, but at the same time, so was the release. And so it was, a good 6 weeks. And then they clearly said to me, you are not working and you will not work until May. Nothing. Well, April it was, I think. April come out in April. Oh, I don't know, I've lost track of time now. But anyway, it doesn't matter. But it was profound, it was amazing, and it was heavy going. Not going to lie, it was heavy going. But when you have to move through this stuff, there's no other way you can do it but to be confronting and confronted, because that's when you get to know you. You're finding out more about yourself, and that's the journey. We have to discover that this isn't everything and this isn't anything in truth, that the trueness of who we are is waiting beyond the clouds. It's waiting, and to start integrating and absorbing and allowing those higher aspects of self and why we don't, what really is blocking us, and knowing that it is there, and what do we keep repeating or believing or saying to ourselves that holds it at bay. And I think the greatest thing is, again, of that there were so many wondrous things, but just really embracing the truth of that I am, as we all are, I am an extension of the Creator, and believing that, and absolutely living that now. From this moment on, from whenever that day was, to know it's step up time again, step up time, because the energies are there. They're waiting for us to move to them. They're not necessarily going to come into you if you sit back and wait. This journey is yours, and it's ours for us to see how much are we prepared to move towards it, and what are we willing to push through about that. So anyway.
Yeah, the big take homes there are this theme of really that beautiful test back to love, back to a place where you're seeing the blocks of love. I feel like that's a massive theme. And so I urge you and encourage you to just take a moment of what's been something that has come up over the last few months that you could align to a feeling of existential crisis or a difficult emotional process that you've been going through that potentially has been trying to allow you to see those blocks where you're pushing love away, again, not intentionally, but where it happens. And I feel like that's been a massive theme, both in my experience over the last few months and also all of my clients around. And sometimes it just is about asking the right questions to yourself to be able to elicit that's been the theme. Because remember that as we also move more into the light, our ego is going to get more and more tricky at continuing to put in place ways for us to be able to project it onto there. So it's similar to how if we, look at our partners and we think, well, they always see this part of me, or they always have that perspective. Again, looking at that more on the eyes of, oh, isn't it interesting that they're still reflecting that back to me, that they're still channeling that belief structure back to me. How can I really work on looking at what that truly means to me? And I feel like, again, that one of the big themes of the last 3 months has been very much about that mirror back again. And it's about really taking ownership for what you are seeing in your world, like Marie was saying, with the creator, like being the co-creator. But one of the ways to navigate through that is continuing to see what you see in your world, what you see as something that comes back to you. What are you seeing as a belief structure, or what are you seeing as a truth? We are ultimately going to be continuing to create with that the more that we choose to align to that as being a truth. And so, one of my favorite ways in which I've been doing that in the last 3 months is I've literally just been journaling what my beliefs are, what my truths are, what am I reflecting back. So any challenges that I've had, I've been decoding through that mechanism. And my journey has been like very different to Marie's. There's one thing I've noticed about my time since I've spent time with Marie, and one of them is that she's like, she'll be expressing to me, oh, I'm going through massive change. And I'll be like, oh, great. Because one thing I've learned is that I'm usually about 6 to 2 months behind her. 6 weeks to 2 months behind her, that is. So when I saw she was going through this, I was like, okay, hold on to your underpants, Martine, because you're about to go through a ride. And literally the minute that I saw that was the day that I did my hand. Marie talks about, her journey of not aligning to conventional. I had really no choice, but like my wound was that I needed to go to conventional medicine for them to assess my wound. And I've never stepped foot in the emergency ward of our hospital. Like, it's not been something that I've ever done. And so that was fun. And Marie was there for that, thank goodness, as well. Like, she was
distantly.
Yeah, but it was a very interesting time as well, because just beautiful, multifaceted, beautiful. It wasn't so much a trying time for me in terms of that I didn't feel like I needed to be in that place. I thought it was really interesting as to how much I was at peace with being there. But I found the journey with the interactions that I had with people, through even just being immersed in a surgical ward to a surgical team, that was like an interesting process unto its own. And, instant work that I would do, like instant light work that I would do, would be like shown to me in proof immediately. Like, I would do something energetically, and then a nurse would come and go da 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 da, and it was to me, it was a complete, that's because you just did that, Martine. And I feel like this has been a lot of my teaching about what I've been doing energetically, to what is then being proved in the physical world. And I do feel like this was a lot to do with that journey, from the sense of what I did energetically to what the outcome was as well, like a lot of, health journeys can often be. So it was a conventional journey that I went down, where Marie was talking about how she wasn't going down a conventional journey. And then
it was interesting too, if I can jump in
yeah,
there,
please.
to see where, because we all have our ego, the ego thread pops in when it was, and how you would see such a difference when you would slip into the ego in any way.
Yep.
And then when we chat or whatever, and then the vibration went up, how things would shift again instantly, to give you that awareness of how subtle it is, but when you were there and then when you weren't, everything just flowed again.
Yep.
That's the takeaway I took from what you would say.
And also, like, it was a 3-day process. I would say the first day, like, was an interesting combination of receiving support, but also being there energetically and doing my work there. The second day was solely about the energy work that I was doing at the hospital. And then the third day, it was a very different energy. It was all about me being on the receiving end. It was my day to receive. And when I showed the resistance to that, that was when the resistance came up around me. And when I softened into that, like, it was like it just opening the heavens and everything being there. So I think that was the day that I did a lot of crying and a lot of moving through that. But it was also a day where I went into very deep meditations in the middle of the hospital, where people would be, and people were seeing that and coming up to me post meditation and going, "Oh, I was trying to connect with you 40 minutes ago, but I couldn't." you were in such a peaceful state. But I also got a lot of phone calls out of the blue from all sorts of people that day, just connecting and sending love and sharing love and things like that. And then, there was a massive release post that experience for me as well, that then opened my heart to a new level, which then pretty much sent me into my dark night of the soul, on clearing a lot of things that were steering me away from love. And the way that I could describe that would be that as I worked through the dark night of the soul aspect, it was as if I was coming to peace with all aspects of myself. There was me not wanting to eradicate certain aspects. It was me coming to total peace with all the aspects of myself, which is, again, something that I feel like I've preached, meaning like I have spoken that there is nothing within us that needs healing. But it was me even understanding it on a new level, just like me understanding, I know that I've healed a lot of things within my physical body, but I've never had someone then open my physical body and go, "Oh, well, there's nothing there," and gone, "Oh, so did I do something there?" Like, was that me? Yes, it was me. I actually did do something there, and I've got kind of some physical proof to do that, whereas I've never had that before. I've had my vibe that it's all clear and it's done, not to that extreme. So I feel like there's been definitely the amplifying of proof. So again, unlike what I thought a year ago, where we would be seeing the proof of a lot of things, like, yes, chemtrails are real, or whatever that may look like, I feel like I've been receiving the proof that, as I've been feeling like I've been preaching the last few years, that not to step outside of yourself for healing, but to go within. It's not saying that I haven't fully believed that, but I'm saying that that's been stepped up for me in terms of how I'm now completely embodying that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the journeys just keep coming back within, and that's again, another big takeaway for me, which I've always said. I know there's nothing without of us, but there isn't. It's as simple as that. But it's the understanding of the self in finding the balance for yourself within every part of your world. You know, how can you find peace? How can you find joy in whatever is coming up before you, within you, in the moment? That's all the journey's about. And yes, while we're in the duality still, which is collapsing, we're still seeing parts. And I know for me, the message to me is really stepping out now for me, stepping out completely. And that's not an easy task. I can tell you, when you're surrounded in the duality world, that's another test that I'll be going under, especially when I'm, have a partner that's still very dual. But that's my journey, as it is his in the mirrors. But, it's that space for me that I feel I'll be teaching or assisting others to find how to reach that point of peace within the self as fast as you can. And to do that is to literally pull yourself out of anything that is outside of you, anything that creates anger, fury, frustration, all those less than vibrations within you. You simply don't want to be a part of them. You have a choice always, but it's do you or don't you wish to be part of that? Because what I know, and while, we had to become witness for the duality, to see the light and dark, to see the shadowing, to see everything, that's always simply a mirror back to the self. Because whatever you see out there is always a reflection back of the work to be done, and what still exists within you. It's all palpable and tangible in physics terms. But, for many of us as light workers, the truth is that truth will always prevail. It has to, and it will. But it's not the point of whatever we think is bad, or again, here's the complementary opposites. Anything that's not of love and joy out there, and there's lots that you could go looking for and see if you wanted to. It's serving a purpose for the wake up. To keep remembering that whatever's out there is, again, stepping out, taking the eagle's point of view, and knowing that everything is that perspective of looking within. What do I need to look at for myself? How am I reacting to this? If I am reacting, then I'm imbalanced. There is a part of me that needs to be looking at within myself. And that the more that we do that, all of us that are awake, the more that we start really honing in on us, and we just know that the minute the minute we are in that space truthfully of love, nothing outside of us less than that will exist. Nothing. So even in that higher truth sense, we don't have to prove anything, and if you are feeling like you want people to be, accountable and hold them responsible, and you want to see justice and that, there's still parts that was my old ancient Atlantean energy I had to clear through COVID. I'm very well aware of that, but it's not a part of me now. Because if it still is, then I'm still in duality, because I'm still seeing there's something wrong out there. And that's not the truth. Everything's perfect. And I think what we have to keep remembering as enlightened star beings, light workers, whatever name, you want to give yourself, just awakened in some form, is that you chose to be awake now. You chose every moment of where you are right now. And your purpose actually was to remember love. As best you can, to remember what that is for you, however that is for you. And again, it's not going to be outside of you or somebody, or if you see someone getting held accountable for something, you might have a joyous moment of woohoo, but you still might not have the joy or the peace or the love within you because you haven't accounted for it here. But when you account for it here first and foremost and forget about anything out there, then what I've really come to see as I've done that well and truly is that nothing out there bothers me anymore. Nothing, it doesn't grab my attention. I don't care. I am just disengaging every day more and more and more that I am not a part of that world anymore. And what I know, what I feel is absolute peace within and around me. And I know that I said this to Circle, and I think this is a really, really big thing that I've been doing for a bit, and I gave it to them on Circle Night, is it was very clear when I got taken through simply in the moment of anything that I'm experiencing, do I feel, so I'm not thinking in any capacity, don't think, feeling, in this moment, and it might be a reaction moment or it might be just a moment of the mirror, however big or small, is my heart feeling contracted? Am I feeling sucked in some ways? Am I feeling that my muscles are tense? Am I feeling that there's a part of me that's just not open? Because any tiny contraction means that I'm not in love. It means that I've shifted into a space of less than ego, that I might not have even got a message of a thought about or what this means or who this is or what it's about, because sometimes we can just slip into, and especially now we're jumping timelines so rapidly that we can just have these feelings come out. We've been here and then we're here, and it's just recognizing without needing to know how I feel. And the minute I just know I'm in contraction, right, okay, breathe and just bring yourself back to center. And then you may just realize, oh, it's so-and-so, or it was something that I felt that they just said something, or they might have just done something and it wasn't even directed at you, but you just, it's raised something, own it, and just, okay, it's a contraction. I just need to now expand back into love. And just that consciousness again of I want to expand my heart. I just want to move through this moment and let the muscles go and tell my cells, you're all okay. I don't need to know why. I don't need to have the ins and outs of it, but I just want to get back into expansion through the breath. And you watch how quickly you change. How quick it shifts. And that was a huge, huge thing for me, that even now, and I mean, you know, my partner's my greatest teacher still, and I can feel how with that, nothing bothered me, like little things where it might have come up from the old, just a brief thing. If I feel it now, it's just like, and I just expand it through it and I just send it. And then I'm able, actually now, I'm just seeing where, particularly our men, I think this is an important thing. A lot of our men are going through some big stuff now. And they're going through that shift, who are meant to be shifting from that old imbalanced masculine, moving towards their divine masculine. And this is a huge time for them. Huge time.
I think we're all doing that with our masculine.
Well, we are doing it on the inner masculine, but for the men, this is a big thing because of their program. And I just saw Kay before saying we've got a lot to unlearn. This is massive for them because this is such a huge shift, especially if they're not awake. What's happening? So while I've been shifting with me, I've seen my family do very similar things because they have to. It's all vibrational. And I've seen my masculine, who's my mirror, really going through some big, deep shifts and aches and pains and stuff that's going on in his body. And I know what that's about. But he's still very physical and clinical, and it's all very medical, and that's okay. And what I've realized through this contraction expansion aspect, and as I've just really pulled out, that I'm just in this space where I'm just seeing just a soul who just needs my love now. Doesn't need my judgment, doesn't need my chats, doesn't need my thoughts, just needs love. And to let him be there and let him do his stuff. And that's the space where I'm sitting at the moment.
Well, I had this conversation with a friend of mine the other day because and she won't mind me sharing this because I'll be mentioning her name. But she was talking about how when, you know, her and her partner are potentially going through a big process at the same time, and how there's a part of her that will think of Archangel Michael within his soul, and that's what helps pull her out and remember the truth in it. Because again, I think if we're looking at these last 3 months, what I've noticed for many of us is that it's been a very day after day activation. So it's all very good trying to bring that breath in, but when we're still trying to catch our breath in terms of this has happened and this has happened and this has happened within us, like as a feeling or these big changes and inner changes that we're experiencing, it can feel really like, well, okay, I've been through a big day today, or whoa, today's feeling even bigger. And because we're just shifting so much. The other thing I want to say about that is, you know, just how much it's not about rejecting, say, if you're experiencing
anger, like, yes, there's the option of us breathing through it, absolutely. But sometimes it's also about just allowing yourself to have a moment within that anger and just breathing and feeling into it. Because my experience of what's been happening lately is that, by surrendering into that part of who you are, you're also being able to fully immerse yourself to the frequency of all the aspects of that vibration dynamics. So if I'm referring to anger, I'm also referring to passion. I'm also referring to a fire inside of you that activates and feels like a shift, a movement. It's a solar plexus energy. It's all of these things. It's not just anger. And it's about trusting that that may look like anger in that moment, because again, it's experiencing it from past experiences. Anger is also such an interesting thing, because the more that I've explored anger over the years, the more that I've viewed it like, well, when are we allowed to ever be angry? On my personal journey with anger, it's been something that has always been, don't do that. That is wrong. Society view it as being something that's wrong to experience. Even if we're talking about the way that when raising children, how little boys are more allowed to even be angry, but little girls are told to not, and vice versa. Little boys are often told that they can't cry, and girls are allowed to cry a little bit more. Like, there's still like this massive shift happening in just the viewpoints around the word, the vibration, the energy that comes alongside, say, anger, the one that we're talking about. So getting back to what my friend and I were talking about, she was saying that she views her partner as Archangel Michael. I would still say, like I've said in previous hubs, that my daughter is the beautiful shapeshifter of my life often, and she brings up things that I didn't know were still there. She's the one that does that the most. And when I'm trying to find a breath and I can't, there's one thing that will bring me back, is the remembrance of her soul, not just looking at her like this little curly head, like mini me with a gorgeous little angelic face, but looking at her like, wow, look at her soul. Isn't that amazing? And that sometimes is enough to sort of realign me, to make sure that I'm bringing it back to me, bringing the reflection of what's being triggered in me back to me, and enough to be able to know what choice to make in that moment that isn't one that, is less than love. That being said as well, I'm still learning, and it's also about forgiving when you're not, because there's been plenty of times that I will see the choice before me and still make the other choice. And then it's about like surrendering any aspect of me that has felt like, okay, well, what have I created in terms of damage or anything between, say, my child and I? It's about really clearing that and knowing that on some level, both of us have aligned to this. I'm trusting in the bigger aspects of our soul here. It's big. And, like, I love that you're in a place where you can say, I'm not working for a month. I feel like,
well, it wasn't me saying I'm not working for a month. It was my higher self telling me not to.
That's right.
And it was me honouring that.
That's right.
Yeah, without fear.
Whereas I don't think I'm there yet. Like, I don't think I'd be able to shut down my business for a month and not go into some kind of existential crisis about it.
But then your higher self might not ask you to do that.
Well, that's true.
And that's the difference.
My higher self doesn't. What does happen for me now is that my clients, like, I had a week there where my week looked really packed, and I had a week there somewhere in there that lots of people cancelled all in 1 week, and I had like the quietest week I've ever had. That's still how I get taken out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I mean is that,
Yeah.
you know, I'm not saying you're all going to do what I do. I'm just giving you my example. But at the end of the day, when it's time for you to be taken out, if you haven't achieved what your soul has asked you and required of you, because a lot of us aren't conscious to that, and that's fine. But when it's time, you will be put out, because for these energies to truly be integrated, you can't do them running around. You can't do it busy. You have to be still. And so, yeah, my higher self spoke to me, as it will for me. But that wasn't to say you're all going to do that. that was just to give you the example. That's what I was going to do. And even when I was busy and working with a family, I was still put out, and it would be enough that everything still functioned around me. And it was always a test of fear, and where I aligned my fear into something, because that's all this journey is about, is sorting out where your fear is, because when that's gone, there is nothing to fear and everything flows. So again, you know, when we come up against this moment again, like you said, without beliefs, what beliefs are we continually telling ourselves and holding ourselves out on that are preventing our flow?
Yep.
Because we're the block, nothing else is. We're the only block, and will always be that cloud. And how many clouds we create around us is what interferes that path to the truth source that we are.
And I, like, you know, a number of years ago because it's happened ever since I've been in clinic, if I'm needing a week out, cancellations the whole week, right? This has been, and back in the day, that would have been enough to even perpetuate even more resistance within me. Like I wouldn't have been able to soften into it. I remember this week that I was out, it had no impact on anything at all. The only thing that I noticed was that because I ended up having some massive cries in that week as well. Like there was one where I remember sitting on the couch and like I was like I could feel it coming, and I could feel some resistance coming, and I was like, Martine, find a place to let it out, you know, and I did, and I cried. And it was about it was that week, it was about trying to navigate that for me, like trying to navigate the allowance of that space for me rather than trying to feel it. Like, you know, there were clean moments where I, you know, was like, well, I've got this space. Now's the time for me to be working on this project or doing this. And as soon as I would even have that thought, it would be like, no, how can you find a moment to be really soft and gentle and allow yourself this space and time? And what was also brilliant about this time for me was that it was two of my least favorite things. It was super cold and it was super windy, which meant that I wasn't going outside. And if it's a nice day and it's an outdoorsy day, I'm in it. I'm like, there's no, so somehow that got even taken away from me. So I didn't even want to go outside. Yeah.
Well, there you go.
So
what we create.
Bottom line is I look forward to the time where my higher self goes, take a month off, work through your stuff. And I'm like, cool.
It wasn't easy. That's for sure. I would have had a nice month off doing something else. In truth, but it's worth it. It's all good in hindsight. Everything's good in hindsight. Yeah, but you know, it's a big year, everybody. Okay, it's not letting up. We've said this before. So the eclipses were big moments in time, big energies coming through. Everybody's been impacted, whether you believe it or not. You have, and again, according to what you allow, what you're ready to receive, and what your blueprint, your divine contract is. But this is a big eclipse year. So there's more eclipses to come that are just going to be as powerful. And we're now moving. We had Buddha, the Wesak, the Enlightenment Festival, and that too. There's been the full moons. There's been a lot of big planetary stuff as well. This has been massive times. This is biblical revelation times, as we said in Circle. So it's not letting up. You know, we've come for this moment in time. We've come to birth the new earth, and we have to really start remembering that while we're caught up in the physical, we didn't come for that. We came for this. and it's the time of the stepping up in however that is for each of us. And every month towards the next equinox or the solstice in Christmas and the equinox later here, they're just building. So, you know, the 5-5 was big. You know, I really feel the next 7-7-7 is going to be huge. And I'm a 7, so this will be a 7-7-7-7 for me. Anyone else who's a 7, look out. And then after that, we go in through the Lionsgate period. And then we start the shift again towards the end of the year. So we're just building. But it's a positive build. And it's, again, how we're perceiving this. If we're worrying about it and we're putting that negative twist into it, well, sorry, but that's what you will create and witness and experience until you wake up through that. And that's the journey. Been there, done it, understand it. But, you know, what I do know is where I've walked through that over a long time past and the energies were a lot denser and less light, it's far quicker to move through them now than it ever was. It's more graceful and far more easy if you are willing to give your time to the self to do that. You'll be through it. And of course, you know, put out the call for the assistance and be receptive to whoever, whatever you're willing to allow to assist you through that. You know, the old pattern of having to do things yourself or doing it tough or, you know, you've got to have all the knowledge before you can do anything or know anything. It's all crap. I'm sorry.
And what did you say this morning? You said you'll say it. You'll be reminded once I say it. But remember how you were like, you know, with like it was starting what you were saying before with spirit, you know, asking us to step into particular aspects of our life or taking on new frequencies and new energies, and knowing that, you know, it's not about the safety and security being there. It's about taking the guidance, taking the action, and then knowing that you'll be supported, like that, or that it won't look like, you know. So an example of that would be, I'm not saying go out and do this, but I'm just using this as an example. But it would be like, okay, I don't want to buy that house because I don't want to have X amount of mortgage. But if it feels like it's the right thing to do and you know within your heart that it's not from a place of force or it's feeling like you need to be there, it's about trusting that there's going to be something that if you follow through with it and it feels divine and you honor that, that maybe when you get in there, that's when you write your book and then you get the money from that and the mortgage gets paid off. I don't know, I'm just making up stuff.
The miracles flow.
Yeah, it's about trusting that you don't necessarily have to have the outcome resolved in order for you, which is the 3-dimensional thinking, right? And we were just talking about that this morning as well, remembering, again, we bump our gums about this all the time, that 5D is not a destination. It's just a place. It's a way of being, just like 12D is.
Consciousness.
It's a consciousness that you align to. And, you know, I know that anyone who kind of aligns like here with us is probably practicing meditation on a regular basis. You know the consciousness that you go to in that meditation. That's a frequency, isn't it? So this is merely just this moving into that 5-dimensional frequency. And speaking of when I was moving through my existential crisis for the last 3 months, I was describing this to a friend. I was like, my 3D self is birding the 5D self, because the 5D self is sitting here going, when you're ready, I know that you'll be making it through to this, and, you know, super peaceful about it. And the 3D self is like resisting everything and birding my 5D self throughout the whole thing, going, you know, stuff you don't know what it's like.
And that's ego in a nutshell. But I think to finish on, because, you know, we won't hold you up at Saturday night either, and we're going to a blues festival, is I think a really simple thing to keep in check for yourself, because remembering everything is energy first, no matter what your ego tells you and what you justify and talk around and, you know, tell yourself whatever it is, it's energy. So whatever you are giving your focus of attention to, you'll experience. So if you want to experience something better, well, you have to give it a different focus of attention. You know, if you keep telling yourself you're in lack or you haven't got enough, and how can you have enough when you keep telling yourself you're not and you can't? So it's retraining the brain, rewiring, and the neural pathways, they like consistency. They like you to keep repeating. This is why mantras and affirmations come in, you know, they're helpful. Again, it's the power of your will.
Well, there's a reason why they
ultimately.
exist in the world in such mass supply.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yet ultimately, it's about your will and consistency and belief to manifest anything. But giving yourself that constant attention to realizing where you're at, honestly, and then saying, well, I need to be looking over there instead and thinking differently. Just keep saying the words, keep, you know, writing, speaking, whatever, but keep coming back regularly to seeing your vision, seeing your dream, hear when you're not believing it, tweak it again, but keep focusing on what you want. Because it's amazing how we will give our attention to what we don't want. Oh, I don't have enough. Well, I can't do that. Well, you know, I'll be stuck in a mortgage, or I don't want that. Or you see it the opposite. No, I'm going to be mortgage free. I'm going to have what I want, because reality, you know, the truth of reality, which is your God source reality, says you've got it all. Everything's there. You are the creator. The only reason you don't have it is because you hold the belief that you can't have it.
And think about past times where you've achieved that, because that's what you end up building the proof on.
Yeah, little to big.
You know, like when I look back at, like when I first had, if we're going on the mortgage topic, when I look back at when I first got my mortgage, I remember feeling the of that. And I remember there were times for that first 6 months sitting bolt upright because of how much it triggered my base chakra to be like in debt, or like how much it triggered my money stuff, how much it triggered my sense of safety and security. All of those things were up. And then to think, well, you kind of nailed it. It's kind of proof. Like there was, even though there were, I vaguely remember there might have been like 3 circumstances in that first 6 months where I remember sitting bolt upright in the middle of the night going, what? And, you know, here I am, a number of years later, and I can look back on all of those times and see just what and how I achieved. And it wasn't rough. It wasn't hard slog. It was just this day by day. And that's one of my other favorite things is I remember, you know, just contemplating what it would be like raising a teenager when my daughter was showing such strong personality. And I remember someone saying to me, I don't remember who it was, but they were like, well, you know, we don't pop teenagers out. We spend day by day until they get to that point. So you're going to kind of know what to do in that time. It's kind of like that with everything in life. Like you visualize it, but you don't have to get to that end goal immediately. It's just listening to the steps that you take in every given moment.
And that's now. That's why we need to be in the now. We aim to be in the now. It's not easy, I know, but to be present in the now is where we're being asked to be. And everything changes in the now.
Yep.
From the last minute to the next hour.
High five for being in person.
I know. Thanks for being in my room.
This would be nice to do all the time, wouldn't it?
Thanks for popping on. I know there's Kay and Mel, and I'm not sure who else is there, but we haven't, as I said, we haven't done this before. I'm assuming that this will go to the hub page. I'm guessing we just upload that. So if it does, if it doesn't, if there's any questions, has this been okay? Have you got anything you want to ask before we go?
Yep.
Has it made sense?
Cheers, ladies. Yeah.
Thanks, Kay.
No questions.
Have a lovely night and a lovely weekend, everybody, and we'll hopefully see you soon. And
Kelly.
Hi.
Thank you.
Yes, we will. All good. No worries, Mel. Good to see you too. Take care. Bye.
Can you press on that?
No. It's not touch screen, Martin.
It's not touch screen.
See ya.
Bye.